Red Sea crisis from Houthi attacks hits world trade as cost of shipping soars by 170%.
Here's a summary of the article.
Attacks by Yemeni Houthi rebels on merchant ships heading for the Suez Canal via the Red Sea are causing one of the biggest disruptions to world trade since the COVID-19 pandemic. Shipping lines are changing their routes to avoid the Red Sea, a route through which 12 to 15% of the world's trade flows, often around the Cape of Good Hope. Around 18 shipping companies have already decided to reroute their vessels around South Africa in order to reduce the attacks on vessels and of course the impact this has on seafarers in particular, said the Secretary-General of the International Maritime Organization, Arsenio Dominguez, in an address to the United Nations Security Council. The Bab al-Mandab Strait, the main access route to the Red Sea between the Arabian Peninsula and the Horn of Africa, is only 30 kilometers long, so ships have to pass slowly and in single file, with little room for maneuver. The aim of the rebels, whose main sponsor is Iran, is to punish the ships that trade with Israel, although from the latest attacks it seems that this objective is becoming more and more generalized. In other words, 3.1% of world trade is being redirected from the Red Sea to other routes. Rhys Davies, an advisor at consultancy Flint Global, said a few days ago in The Guardian that the impact of the Red Sea crisis on inflation is likely to be limited. The effects creep into the economy quite slowly, up to 12 months after the peak, so if the disruption is limited in time, as we expect, it will be offset by other disinflationary impacts.
This post received a score of 2,900, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Wow, will you look at that? Terrorism actually works. On certain types of people. It works on cowards.
Are you saying people who refuse to sail through the Red Sea are cowards? Surely I just be misunderstanding.
I'm saying that the countries who benefit from this shipping lane refusing to confront these terrorists, militarily if necessary, are cowards. That's how terrorism wins.
I mean the US is the least directly affected by this but doing the most to respond. The biggest problem is that almost no one can force project on short notice except America, and almost no one in the Middle East has a navy capable of force projecting without US cooperation, Israel included.
You'd think with the impact on international trade, more countries would be willing to try to deal with the situation. I guess they just expect the US to take care of it somehow.
Most of the shipping is Chinese export.
And judging by the military exercise footage China uses for propaganda, China can't risk intervention as it will expose them to their poor training and bad equipment.
This is a good opportunity for them to gain some naval experience.
It'd be their first military intervention since, when? Their expedition to Vietnam in defense of the Khmer Rouge. So far they have played their cards as friends of the global south everywhere outside of Asia. They probably feel that they aren't yet diplomatically secure enough to attack enemies of West-aligned Israel in defense of their economic interests. I doubt that being exposed as not being able to fire some missiles from a frigate to ground targets is their main concern. In that regard, everyone else is probably dragging their feet, so it's not their flag the one painted on the missiles. Western governments are burning political capital and straining relations like crazy over this whole conflict. Even if, our, world news would go pop champagne at the town square on hearing the news of the Houthis being struck. They'd love it if China or India bore a bit of the cost here.
I believe they had some conflict in Africa in the 2000s. They were caught between warring factions and didn't fare well.
Didn't exactly scream, "We have a competent skilled military capable of taking on the West." There is apparently not a lot of oversight regarding their navy. I don't think China is confident their navy won't start something and make things worse plus make themselves look like useless buffoons, which is not something authoritarian tend to risk unless they are very confident it won't backfire and make them look bad. Authoritarians have an obsession with image. They work hard to convince everyone around them that they are perfectly in control and that they don't make mistakes.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.